I want to share something. Portsmouth, New Hampshire. These are lines forming for a chance to see Donald Trump, and not for another hour and a half. Despite all the controversy, despite all these women with their latest allegations, he remains very popular as far as an event to go to. And they're going to run out of space there. This is a common development when it comes to Mr. Trump's events. He is expected to rail against these latest attacks on him, particularly the women and the networks he says are working with them. This tweet says this election is being rigged by the media pushing false and unsubstantiated charges and outright lies in order to elect crooked Hillary. Steve King, Iowa congressman, big Trump supporter, with me right now on the phone. Congressman, he is expected to feature those who will argue what some of these women have said, including this one woman who said that he, was all over her, I think 30 plus years ago on a commercial flight. But that's out there. Should he keep talking about it, or is he justified in clarifying what he says is his innocence?
You know, Neil, I think you need to put a combination of this together. What is prudent political judgment, and how does that match up with Donald Trump's personality? And I just don't know that you can hold him back from rebutting something that he believes is untrue and unjust. And so maybe you need to give him about 24 to 36 hours to burn that part of it down out of his personality, then package it up, then focus back on the issues because he's spoken to it. But 30 years ago in an airplane, none of us are immune from such an allegation. And then these allegations all coming up essentially at the same time, within a couple of days of each other, it does cause one to suspect, where were they before? Why did we hear none of this up until after that beginning to and after this last debate? So that's what I would say to him, and focus on these issues. He has an opportunity at this debate coming up to score another unanimous decision over Hillary Clinton. And that's where the focus needs to be. And what's going to move voters out here still is the realization that we could lose our courts, our Constitution, we could lose our borders, we could lose the rule of law with Hillary Clinton. And Donald Trump holds all that together and restores it. And I think that's where the center of this needs to be. And I'm going to call upon the American people, have a conscience about where you're directing America when you walk into the voting booth November 8th.
You know, last week when the attention was on St. Louis and we were there, there was the suspicion after the release of the first tapes going back 11 years that there would be other tapes forthcoming or other women forthcoming. And sure enough, there were. Maybe others are being planned if there is a deliberate rollout to sabotage him. If that is the case, then I've heard from those who say he does have a case to counter them directly, especially as he claims that they're false. And to ignore that would be saying they're right. I did this. What do you think?
You're exactly right on that. In fact, the comparison is right there in front of us. The WikiLeaks on Hillary Clinton's emails and those of Podesta's and others, they're not. Hillary Clinton has not rejected the truth within them, and no one doubts that those emails that are out of WikiLeaks are true. And so the same thing would go for the allegations about the alleged misconduct for Donald Trump. He's got to rebut them. It's a lot better if some of the rest of us can do that for him, but sometimes you just aren't in a position to do that.
Yeah, how do you feel about that? That there aren't too many like you in the Republican Party doing that?
Well, from where I sit, I don't know anything about these allegations, so I'm not really in a position to rebut them.
I understand.
And none of us defended the statement that he made, and he apologized for it. But I just look at this thing, and I think the rationale of Republicans that think they want to run away from Donald Trump and somehow or another save themselves and other seats to hold the majorities in the House and the Senate, I just think that's the wrong political calculation, that you are joined at the hip with your nominee, like it or not. And that means that once that decision is made, and it's clear that, I'm the national co-chairman for Ted Cruz's for president campaign. I sat back and analyzed the agenda that's coming out of Donald Trump. I heard his speech on Thursday night in Cleveland, his acceptance speech. Every plank along that way is something I can accept, and all but a couple of them I'm enthusiastic about. And that's what we need to do. This has always been about policy. It's always been about an agenda. And we can't let this become about allegations, which I think one thing we can say almost for certain is a number of these allegations are false, if not all of them.
Well, there are a lot of them coming out, and the timing is curious, to your point, Congressman. Thank you very, very much. I should
Thank you, Neil.
mention, since a lot of these allegations have come out, let's say over the last week or so, the first wave of them, we've added a few $100 billion to our debt. Just saying. Why is no one talking about that? Meet the guy who is. But is anyone listening after this?